YouTube, I'm back. So, interview seemed to turn out pretty good. Um, Now, this one's a different YouTube video. This one won't be as long as the last one. Alright, this one is going to be talking about what I think about James Harden and Russell Westbrook and the Houston Rockets. Because, as you know, they made the legendary trade on poor Chris Paul. Making me a sports video for my audience.
What was that?
I said I'm making a sports video.
Oh, okay.
So too bad for Chris Paul. Chris Paul gone. So, how do I feel about that? Houston Rockets. See, the problem with the Houston Rockets is that the Houston Rockets never, and I mean never, was going to ever beat the Golden State Warriors. Because you see, Chris Paul stays hurt as a basketball player. And you see, what I can't understand is why on earth would you have all these opportunities? Like, you look at the season that passed, right? You have a chance to play them in 7 games, and Chris Paul goes down with an injury. Like last season, he went down with an injury. This season, he goes down with an injury again. And it seems like 4 years in a row, you had opportunities to knock off the Golden State Warriors. And 4 years in a row, you fail. And for a long time, people would give all the blame to the coach, the players, the staff. Hell, they would even blame James Harden because we all know he loves to go to strip clubs. You know, he loved them hoes at them strip clubs. They would give James Harden some constructive criticism. And the one person they would never blame is Chris Paul. And you see, in 4 years, it proves that this never was a good fit. I mean, James Harden always showed up and played in the season. He would show up for the playoffs. Now, there are times where he does disappear somewhere at the end of the second or the third quarter and then kind of makes this big surge in the fourth quarter. You know, he might drop 20, 30 points and then fall apart in the fourth quarter. That's because for almost a long time, James Harden didn't have no help. They got Chris Paul, and then you hear the rumors. Like last season, everyone tried to deny the fact that James Harden and Chris Paul didn't see eye to eye. And they were just saying, oh, that's just internet rumors. That's just, talk of people making stuff. But you see, it's proof because James Harden would rather play with Russell Westbrook than Chris Paul. Now, for Chris Paul to get traded the way he got traded, well, now, it's good if he gets sent to the Lakers. Like, if he goes from the Thunder to the Lakers, then that might be the last straw to help the Lakers get over on the Clippers. It was the same problem with the Clippers. You had Chris Paul, Jamal Crawford, you had J.J. Redick, you had Blake Griffin, you had DeAndre Jordan, and I think there's one more player there's 2 more players that I'm missing on the Clipper roster. Austin Rivers, and I think one more person. I can't think of the name. And for a total of 5 years, Chris Paul and that Clipper team for 5 years made it to the playoffs 5 years in a row. And they would get eliminated by 3 teams. Either San Antonio, Golden State, which was their division rival, and then their second division rival was Oklahoma City Thunder. And for 5 years, Chris Paul, Jamal Crawford, J.J. Redick, Austin Rivers, DeAndre Jordan, Blake Griffin, and I think there was that tall guy from Germany that was their center. I can't think of his name, but for 5 years, that Clipper team made it to the playoffs. They would win 45, 50 basketball games 5 seasons in a row. They would make it to the playoffs 5 years in a row, and everyone was rooting for the Clippers. And I made a video telling you that Clipper team would never win an NBA championship. They would never be the LA team that everyone thought they was. Everyone kept saying they're better than the Lakers. Well, the Lakers got championships on their resume. The Clippers don't have a championship. And when Chris Paul decided to get traded from the Clippers to the Houston Rockets because, general manager came in, Jerry West, and said it's time to break up this Clipper team and start fresh. Now you see they've done the same thing with the Houston Rockets. Same thing. 5 years in a row, or in this case, 4 years in a row. And once again, you're seeing a situation where a lot of people would never say it, but now it's apparent Chris Paul is the guy that you put him on his team, you give him all the players, you give him all the pieces, and when it's time to pull the trigger and seize the moment and go to an NBA Finals, it don't happen. Now, with Westbrook on the Houston Rockets team, you can build around this team. Westbrook can drop 30, 40, 50 points. James Harden can do that. Now, with these two guys, I call them the shotguns because they both can go off at the same time. And given with their age, they still can compete at a high competitive level. Now, the reason why I'm making the video is because it's to give my thoughts on what I personally think that has transpired. Now, I will make some sports videos mid-summer. They're going to be professional football videos. And then I'll drop tomorrow's YouTube video when I'm done with both interviews. Actually, I will make one. I'll have one interview that starts at 11 o'clock at my old location, The Grove. And then maybe, I don't know how I'm going to pull it off. Maybe a short video, and then it'll be back on the road to go to this other interview. That's going to be all day tomorrow at Panda Express. Or I might skip it all. It all depends how tomorrow turn out. But anyway, with Russell Westbrook on the team, you're sure to get an opportunity to see how far this Houston Rocket team can push. Now, with Westbrook and James Harden, could that be enough to knock off Golden State? That might be a series that might go 7 games in the playoffs. The problem with this Houston Rockets team, that even though they switched Chris Paul out and traded him to the Thunder and swat in Russell Westbrook, is that it's 2 stars. And 2 stars can't do everything. 2 stars can easily be overwhelmed. So even if a miracle happens and they knock off Golden State in 7 games in the second round or in the third round, I'm sure they'll be good enough to beat Portland. I'm sure enough they'll be able to take on the Clippers, because that's probably what everyone's thinking. And I'm pretty sure that they have to face against the Lakers, that's probably where all their problems will come. Because even if James Harden and Russell Westbrook can drop 30 or 40 points apiece, how do you stop a Laker team like that? And with the new formation of the Clippers, I could see them have trouble with the Lakers and the Clippers. And I'm talking about the Houston Rockets. The Thunder, they'll knock the Thunder out. San Antonio, they'll get by San Antonio. Portland will give them some trouble, but they'll get past Portland. It's the Lakers and the Clippers and, of course, the Golden State Warriors are the 3 teams that might be a problem for Houston in the Western Conference. Now, you do understand that the reason why this is happening because of what Kawhi Leonard done. With Chris Paul and the Thunder, he gets his own team, but once again, it proves that a lot of people have said it. Trevor Ariza have said it, that Chris Paul should have not deserved all that money because he's an injured basketball player. And you saw what they done to my boy Trevor. He got hit with a $1,000 fine and a couple of suspensions. I'm talking about 4 years ago when he opened his mouth when the NBA didn't want him to, and he got in trouble for saying what he said about Chris Paul, and then he was forced to apologize. And then there's 2 sides of the story. One side of the story was he was angry that he wanted to get re-signed for $2 or $3 million, and they wouldn't re-sign him because they told him they wanted him to take a pay cut if he wanted to re-sign back with Houston. Which is why I say that had they kept Trevor, they would have had a shot at winning Game 6 and forcing a Game 7 last season or the season before they lost to the Golden State Warrior 3 years in a row. Because that's where the trouble came in. And now that this is proof of evidence, if he can't even do anything with the Thunder team, then I don't know what to say. To me, this is sad because I like Chris Paul as a basketball player. I like the fact that Chris Paul's competitive. He wants to win basketball games. He likes to make it to the playoffs. He likes to kick ass and take names. But to see him go like this is sad because it's like you had 4 years with this team, and all 4 years in a row you played Golden State in the season, but 3 years that you faced Golden State in the playoffs, you can't never seem to get past them, whether it's the second round or the third round. And now with Westbrook, they have a chance to go to the third round. Problem is, Lakers, Clippers, and Golden State. So even if you can beat Golden State, the Lakers or the Clippers will be Houston Rockets' problem. And you see, a year from now will determine if this is a better fit. And I already said it. Even with Westbrook, I still doubt that Houston even has enough firepower for what they're now going to be facing in the West, because the West is restacked. How do you stop the Lakers with LeBron and Anthony Davis? There's no stopping that. How do you stop the Clippers? And even though people want to say the Golden State dynasty is over, Golden State is still a force to be reckoned with. Yeah, they may not win no championships for a while, but they'll still make the playoffs. It'd be at least 2 or 3 years before they stop making it to the playoffs. So if you got Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and Stephen Curry, you still can make a run at the table of the playoffs. You know, it may not win no title, but still might actually make it to the playoffs. And I'd be amazed and shocked if Houston can knock off Golden State. Despite losing Andrew Iguodala, you lost Kevin Durant, DeMarcus Cousins. So I'd be amazed if it can somehow get past Golden State. But Lakers, Clippers, no. Let's say if Golden State don't make it next year back to the playoffs, well, you're not getting past San Antonio or Portland. And the reason why I say I think they might beat San Antonio is because San Antonio is still rebuilding. But if San Antonio miraculously knock off this team, then again, just because you replace Chris Paul with Russell Westbrook doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna, you're gonna win. So that's my thoughts on what I think as far as the trades are concerned. Now, I do believe that we're going to see Chris Paul entertain the idea of saying, you know what, let me just go play in LA with LeBron. And that could, help tweak the Lakers, and then the Lakers will just be right there with the Clippers. But as for Chris Paul being traded, well, people said that he would get into arguments in the locker room with DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin because he complained about their ability to perform when they were injured. And now you're seeing the same thing with Chris Paul when James Harden complained about his ability to perform because he's been injured for the last 4 years. And you see, the one thing that Chris Paul needs to stop doing is getting on basketball players for being injured when he's injured himself. Now you're seeing age is catching up with him. You get around my age, 33, you got to start wondering how much more of a beating can you take on that basketball court. You be 35, 36 playing basketball, then, yeah. And you see that's probably why they might have had no choice but to do it. Now, I'm not saying that makes it any better, but to put Chris Paul in the Thunder, it's putting him in the same situation as Westbrook. So I don't see how this helps. It helps James Harden out, but then again, it doesn't because it's 2 stars. And again, do you have answers for the Lakers? Do you have answers for the Clippers? Portland, if they get some more players, do you have an answer for Portland? If San Antonio lands a big player in the draft that can actually play, can you get past San Antonio? So, those are questions I would like to know. And to me, I just feel bad for the Houston Rockets because they've had so many opportunities to do what has never been done before. And you're seeing the same problem with Chris Paul. You was with the Clippers for 5 seasons, couldn't stop the Thunder, couldn't stop Golden State. And you're seeing it again with the Houston Rockets, same result, still can't stop the team. And now you're with the Thunder, you're in a worse predicament. You may not even make the playoffs with this roster. That's why I feel bad for Chris Paul, because if you're on a Thunder team, if you make the playoffs, you get eliminated in the first round with the 8th seed. If you fail to make playoffs, then it's the same situation with LeBron. And I think that's what Chris Paul's headed for if he doesn't demand a trade by All-Star break. Don't be surprised if he tries to either sign with the Lakers during February when they have the All-Star break next year, or he tries to go east and join Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving with the Brooklyn Nets. Chris Paul's not gonna sit there and get the short end of the stick, because that's what it seems like at this point of his career. It's like the same thing with Allen Iverson. You see the comparisons, don't you?